Happy application season, seniors. Today we're going to be applying to the UCs together. And so this video is going to be a complete walkthrough tutorial of the University of California application. So go ahead and type in UC application or UC app on Google and then click the first link. And if this is your first time on the website, you're going to scroll down to this button in the middle to create an account. Now I already have an account, but I just want to show you what it looks like on my screen. You're going to type in your email address 2 times and create a password, accept the terms of use, and then that's it. That's how you create your account. Now, many of your counselors and people at your school are going to recommend that you use your personal email address or a professional email address, and I completely agree with that because your school district, your student email that's associated with your school district, you're not going to have access to that long after graduation. So use your personal email. All right, I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. After accepting the terms of use, we'll save and continue, and I want to give you a very quick overview of all of the different sections. Now, up top we have the About You section. This is your basics, your contact information, your demographics, your household information, parent information, and then it goes on to section 2, which is where you pick your campuses and the majors for each of those campuses. Academic history is where we basically transfer over our transcript into the UC app. This is a section where you'll need to be very careful and have a counselor or someone double check your work, because a missed entry into this section will read as a misrepresentation of your transcript, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that you get credit for all the advanced classes you took and all the grades that you got. This section also, you have a place to put in your dual enrollment classes, so your college classes, and then a little box for additional context. There's also the section for the test scores. As you know, the UCs are test free or test blind, so they don't look at SATs or ACTs as a measure of admissions, but they do look at AP and IB exam scores, as well as English proficiency and international exams for possible placement and or college credit. Activities and awards, I will say, is the second most important section in the UC app, and that's where you get 20 blank spaces to put in entries for everything that you do outside of the classroom setting. How you spend your time outside of the classroom setting is important for the UCs to learn about where you put your energy, your time, your efforts, what interests, what passions, what commitments get your time. Then it moves on to scholarships and support programs, which is a pretty easy section to fill out. It should take a couple minutes. Then the last section is the most important section, and that's your personal insight section. It's where you're going to respond to 4 of the 8 PIQ or personal insight question prompts and give the UCs a sneak peek at who you are as a person and how you respond to things that happen to you or around you. There's going to be a second additional comments box here, the first one being in academic history. That's another place to paint further context for your readers to understand as much of you as possible. So the rest of this video, I'm going to actually physically go into each of those sections and show you what it looks like and give you my thoughts as a high school counselor, as a veteran public educator, and also as a former UC admissions reader, to give you the kind of the best comprehensive overview possible. Okay, so the About You section, it's really just about making sure that you're answering all the questions that have an asterisk next to it. And then if any of the questions you stumble on or have a question about, just read the accompanying paragraph or explainer. Your California SSID number should live on your campus, and this is going to be an important piece of information to get as well as to type in, punch in correctly. It is a pretty long number. I believe it's 9 or 10 digits, but that number will help the UC system match you to your California college's profile, which can actually expedite the filling out of this application. If you can't locate your SSID number, you can ask your counselor or your school's registrar. Okay, I'm just going to put in a fake number for now. Contact information is pretty straightforward. It's your address, where they can send their mailers, and then your phone number. Citizenship and residency asks about whether you have citizenship in the United States, and if so, they're going to ask for your social security number. And it's okay to give your social security number to the UCs. They'll use it primarily for financial aid purposes. They're also going to ask you questions regarding your California residency. And the reason for that is to see whether you should get the in-state resident tuition or the out-of-state one. If you are like my students and you attended high school in California from 9th grade on and you're graduating from a California high school, you should be considered a California resident for tuition purposes. Demographics, now a lot of these questions are actually optional. If you see, none of them have that required asterisk symbol next to them. So you can answer this if you want, or you can choose to refrain. That's totally up to you. People have different thoughts about how you answer those questions and whether or not it would impact your ultimate decision. I don't really have any comment on that. Your background is going to talk about what language you learned first and a little bit more about yourself. And this question is required. Check all that apply. They'll also ask about military veteran or service member status, whether you're a dependent or not. So more questions about your home address, your income, and the number of people that were supported by this income. Now, these two last questions are important because how you answer them will determine whether or not you get the UC application fee waiver. With an income of $50,000 that supports a family of 4, that will get the fee waiver. And later on in one section, I'll show you how to see if you get the fee waiver or not. They're going to ask about parents' level of education. And then last but not least, to round out the About You section, they're going to make sure that you are or are not a legal resident in the state of California. All right. Then you're going to have an opportunity to review your answers, and then you're going to continue, and it saves. Every time you press continue, it saves. But you're going to go on to the second section, which is your campuses and majors. Now, before you select any of your campuses, the first thing you're going to do is acknowledge and accept the community principles. I think it's a good idea to read this one time briefly to understand that integrity is a big part of this process. You're going to indicate when you want to start at the UCs and what your application level is going to be. High school seniors, you're going to click first year. And then the fun part, you get to choose your campuses. Remember I told you that the information on what your income and the number of people supported by your income, that will determine if you get the fee waiver or not. It says right here in the middle of this section right here, you've qualified for a UC application fee waiver. You can apply to 4 campuses for free. And it says that because I put in the numbers in the prior section that is determined to be eligible. Now the UCs loosely follow the California guideline on like what's considered a low income threshold for what size family. I believe for a family of 4, anything under like 55K will get you the fee waiver. But you'll see what your numbers, whether they grant you a fee waiver or not. Okay, and then you'll pick your campuses. You can apply to as many as all 9, or you can apply to just 1. That's up to you. What I have seen as a counselor is that most students apply to, I would say the range is like 4 to 6. But on the next section is where you're going to pick the primary and the secondary major for each of your UC campuses. Now, the secondary major exists for you so that you can have a second read or a second review of your application to see if you don't get into your first, maybe you get into your second. The only college that won't give you the opportunity to choose a second major is UCLA, I believe. It's either UCLA or UC Berkeley, but then you review it and you move forward. Now, for academic history, if you're lucky and your school partners with that portal, the California colleges, and you do put in your SSID, actually a lot of this information will be populated for you. You just have to double check the work. If that's not the case, you're going to have to enter the information manually. The first section, it's going to say 7th and 8th grade, and you may be wondering why they're asking about 7th and 8th grade when college apps are primarily asking about 9th through 12th. It's because for the UC purposes, The way that they look at coursework is that they look at A through Gs. And many districts, you actually take A through G classes in middle school, and or you start in the high school in a high enough level that kind of validates the prior parts of the sequence to give you the A through G years. The two subject areas where that's true is in math and world language. So if you come into high school at geometry or integrated math 2, then here you're going to say that yes, you did take a high school level math course in middle school, and you're going to indicate what it was. So if your school uses the integrated math sequencing and you started in 2, then you'll say you took 1. If you start with geometry, then you should tell them that you took algebra 1 in 7th or 8th grade. So you get counted for that year of math, A through G math. Now, the second subject area, like I said, is world language. So sometimes you can test in, or you take, for example, Spanish 1 or Korean 1 in 8th grade, and then you start 9th grade at year 2. I've also seen some students start at year 3. But if you start in a level higher than 1, then you're going to want to put the years prior to that level in this section. And you can do so by just typing out the class name, saying full year, and then what year it was, and then what language. They're also going to ask about international school experience. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and add your high school or high schools that you attended throughout 9th through 12th grade. They're also going to ask if it was a specialized curriculum. And then when you search up your school, just make sure that you're choosing the right one. Some cities have multiple high schools, so make sure that you're selecting your high school. And that's important because every high school submits to the UCs their course schedule, what courses they offer and what courses are considered UC honors. Then you're going to go grade by grade and add in manually each of your classes. I'm going to add my first high school I worked at, which was Berkeley High School. Now I'm going to select that. And if you were in the IB program, you click IB. If you're not in any program, then you can skip this. Now you're going to put the first month and year that you attended this school. If you are graduating in 2027, then your first month of high school was either August or September of 2023. And you'll be graduating May or June of 2027. And if you attended this school all 4 years, then it's pretty straightforward. You would just, for each of your grade levels, indicate what school year you attended there. Now it gets complicated for students who moved around because that means you have to add a high school for each of the high schools you attended. There's also a box here that says I took summer courses after this grade, so you would click that if that's true for you. Most schools' grading systems in California is the letter grades, A, B, C, D, F. And most that I've come across are semester system, where there's a spring semester, it's a fall semester and then a spring semester. And if this is where you're on track to or trajectory-wise you're going to graduate from, you'll click yes here and tell them what diploma you're going to get. Now, the vast majority of students are going to be earning their secondary school diploma, their high school diploma. A handful of you are going for the IB diploma. And if that's true, you would click the IB diploma over the high school diploma because it's a little bit more specialized and shows rigor, and it kind of reads a little bit stronger than the traditional high school diploma. So if you're going to go through all the work of getting the IB diploma, you want to click that. Okay, so for 9th grade, you're going to go ahead and open up all of these headers. And ideally, you have a transcript next to you, whether it's on a separate tab or your paper transcript, and then you're going to one by one punch in your classes. Now, you're going to notice, let me go find English 1. Now, you're going to notice that when I put in English 9, English 1 right here, I click it. So remember I told them that this is a semester system school. They're going to give you 2 grade boxes. That's where you're going to put in your fall semester grade and your spring semester grade. Now, as you can see, there's no plus or minuses because the UCs don't count plus or minus for their A through G GPA calculation. So it's either an A, it's a B, or a C. Cool. You can do that for each of your classes and all the way through 12th grade. Once you're done with that, and do it carefully, please. The other thing is, before we go into colleges, sometimes the class name here is going to be different than the class name on your transcript. Sometimes schools get carried away with changing their course names and they don't update it on their UC course schedule. And that's where you have to, on Google, type in UC Doorways. Okay, you're going to click the first link, so UC Doorways. You're going to find your school. In my example, I'm Berkeley High student, so I'm going to click Berkeley High School, go to course list, and then on my transcript, let's say it says a class and it has a code. I'm going to find that class. I'm going to verify that let me open it. I'm going to verify that the code is indeed here. And then this class, English 1P, is that class. And that's how I'm going to add it. Did you notice, though, that when I opened it, under transcript abbreviations, there were different versions of that class? That's what I mean by sometimes you can't find the exact correct wording or naming of your classes. Now, colleges attended in high school. This is primarily for those of us who are taking classes through dual enrollment at our local community college, or if you took any courses over the summer at a college for a specific program. This is for classes where you received college credit for. Now, not the classes that you just audit or take for enrichment, but if you're actually receiving a transcript and the program says that this is for college credit, this is the section where you would add the class. First, you add the college, and then you add the class here. Cool? Now, the additional information box right here, you have 550 characters. Explain any of the context of your academic history to the UCs. Now, what I see students talk about here are maybe they define their small school. You know how some high schools have like academy systems. So maybe tell them more about that small school and some of the rules or restrictions. Also, like scheduling issues. Let's say you wanted to take AP Chem your senior year, but you couldn't because it was only offered fourth period and you're in leadership and it's only offered fourth period. You can explicitly say that, right? You can talk about missed opportunities or opportunities that you missed that weren't all your fault. It was because the school or the schedule didn't allow for it. You could also talk about a dip in grades, any personal or health situations that impacted your overall grades or GPA. You could talk about one of my students, I remember they wrote about how in their 9th grade, they had a series of long-term subs for their English class, and they felt like they didn't learn much, and they felt that it was just kind of a rocky year in English-wise, so they had to play a lot of catch-up sophomore and junior year. And I thought that was a compelling piece of information to include, because if you don't, then the readers won't know. There's not enough kind of nuance and context in the transcript side of things for anyone to pick that up. So it's on you to explain those experiences and those realities in this additional information box. Don't just breeze through this box because up front, like your initial reaction is that you don't have anything to write about. Actually sit down and think about, your journey from 9th to now. And for you, it might just be, that's just how it was. That's just how it is at my school. They limit the number of APs I take, or club soccer made it so that I couldn't take a 0. Like whatever the thing is, that might be just the norm for you. But for a reader on the outside trying to understand you, give them some help, give them some support in understanding some of the context around you, whether that's limitations or just facts about your school that can help them gauge kind of who you are as an applicant. Another one I've seen is like transportation, right? So like struggling to get to school on time because I live so far away or I don't have reliable transportation, and that always impacted my grade in my earlier classes, something like that. Now, in the additional information section, if you are going to talk about like negatives or give reasons to things that don't look great, like a dip in grades, for example, you can't just leave it as like, oh, I had a bad grade because I had a long-term sub. You also have to follow it up with some proactive and positive action steps to show that you're not just someone who accepts the negative circumstance, that you respond to them. And then that's it for the academic section or history. You're going to go to add in your exams here. Pretty straightforward to do so. One thing that they might ask for that's possibly confusing for you is the College Board ID, student ID. So you'd have to log into your College Board, download a score report, and it's going to be there on the top right corner. You can literally just Google, how do I find my CB ID? And there's like a guide on how to do that. So for the activities and awards section, I would actually recommend first working out of like a Google Doc, like separately outside of this portal system, so that you can have everything in one place and then just transfer it over. The advantage to that is you don't risk your work being not saved, number one. And then number two, you can see all your activities in a bird's eye view rather than the way the UCs do it where you add them one by one. You become kind of blind to the other ones that you have yet to add or have already added. So with a worksheet like this, which is something that I'll come up with for my students, and I'm happy to share it with you in the description of this video, you can add in your 20 or up to 20 items for extracurriculars, and then definitely make sure that you spend some time on the written part of it. So for awards and honors, for example, you get 250 characters to talk about the eligibility requirements, and then 350 characters to talk about what you, the applicant, did to achieve the thing. And anytime there's an opportunity to describe your kind of participation or your contribution, you want to use action verbs and speak in the first person so that they know that these contributions were unique to you. Now, if you finish writing up a explainer for a certain activity and you think about it, and if you conclude that anyone in that club could have written that and hold true, then that's probably not the most compelling activity description. In some cases, there's like no way to distinguish, your contributions from the next student, but try your best to really make it personal. That's the point. And then the other thing I wanted to say about the activities awards the activity sections is you don't need to fill out all 20, but if you sit, pause, and think and really try to remember and talk to honestly, your parents probably remember a lot too, you'll be surprised at how many activities you really have. So the categories are an award or honors, pretty straightforward. An educational prep program, anything that help you prepare for college or your academics. An extracurricular activity, the third category, that's your kind of fallback umbrella term option that kind of encompasses a lot. Hobbies, clubs, sports, anything else. Other coursework is classes that you didn't get AUG credit for. Volunteering is anything you do in the service of others for no pay. And then work experience is anything you do for pay. And you categorize your activities as such. No one's going to have the perfect balance of all 6 of those categories. Some people are going to be heavy on the extracurricular or heavy on the work experience, but maybe lighter in some other areas. And I guess what I'll say is you don't need to have a bunch of each one. Some people are going to have no award or honor. Some people are going to have no volunteer or community service. Ideally, you have a little bit of it all. But the thing is, at this point, as a senior, you're not going to go out and make up an award or make up a volunteer just so that you can add it. That's not genuine, right? That's not in line with the UC's call for integrity. So just display and put forth on the table what you have already and what you've done. And then just honestly use your energy to focus more on writing good description blurbs. So yeah, work out of the doc, then transfer it over later. And then you're going to go to the scholarships and support programs section. Nothing's populated here because I haven't chosen my campuses, but you should see once you get here a bunch of check boxes with things like interested in working in the medical field. Sometimes they have something so random like grew up in an agricultural farm town. And then you just click those things that are true for you, and then you may possibly be evaluated for a scholarship of that theme. Some of the questions are about like ancestry and heritage, where you're from, what your interests are, if you're first generation, things like that. And then it all gets computed into possible scholarship opportunities. The last section, we're already almost at the end, is the PIQs. And I don't think that I can really thoroughly explain the PIQs in a video like this that's going through front to back the entire UC application, because then it would just kind of take over. I want to create a separate video that it really digs into the depths of the PIQs. But for the sake of this section, I can say that this is a section where, just like the activities, you want to be working off portal. You want to be working in separate Google Docs, one for each of your PIQs. And even before you write your 4 PIQs, you want to sit down and brainstorm your 4 topics, your 4 prompts, and make sure that those 4 response ideas are different from one another, illustrate different qualities or traits or aspects of who you are. You don't want to be redundant and say the same thing 2 or 3 times. And in all 4 of them, you want to show your response. You want to show action items, not just, this is how I think, this is what I believe. Those things are pretty passive. When you can show or demonstrate action in response to an inciting event, then what is that thing that English teachers always say? It's like show versus tell language, right? When you tell a college system like the UCs, this is how I respond to an incident like this or an experience like this. This is how I build on it. This is how I pursue more knowledge and get other people involved. You're showing them your character, you're showing them your initiative, your love for learning, your curiosity. And I do believe that brainstorming for a PIQ and writing good PIQs, it does not come naturally to the majority of high school students. And it's not to the fault of the high school student, but it's because whether it's our school system or just our culture in general, we don't push young people to self-reflect often. We don't have them do that meta psychological activity of thinking about thinking and thinking about self, thinking about our journey up until now. It's hard to do that as a young person. I really struggled with it. And I think you have to put yourself in an environment, oftentimes like later at night with the right kind of music. You have to be in the right kind of mood and energy levels. But it's in that rare air that you can think back to certain moments, experiences, anecdotes, or just stories that happened, and talk about kind of how you respond to that. If you want help with this, I actually do offer a paid service through my college counseling business, where you can book me for 30 minutes or an hour up to 30 minutes at a time or an hour at a time. And we can actually come up with 4 strong PIQ ideas. So we can do some brainstorming, give you enough outline information for you to go and write your PIQs, and then you can book me for a second call where I can review your PIQs. So that's something that I'm happy to do. If you are a high school senior who found my YouTube channel, feel free to email me. My email's in my YouTube channel homepage. Feel free to email me your PIQs and I will review them for free. That's kind of a temporary offer right now as I'm growing my channel and growing my business. But I'm happy to do that, especially if you're going to be diligent about it and you don't have a ton of people in your corner with kind of UC expertise. Happy to do that. If you're a parent or a guardian who's found me and you want my services, you can go ahead and book me on my calendar link. That'd be the best way. The other thing to round out this video is that there's a second and final additional comments box in the personal insight section. They're going to give you a little bit more than the academic history one. I think the academic history, if I remember correctly, is like 550 characters. The additional comments in the personal insight section, this one, is 550 words, which is quite a bit of space. And this is where you can explain anything, unique circumstances that pertain to you personally, to your family, anything that shaped the experience of your high school career that would help readers to understand kind of what you went through, what you're going through as an applicant. And then that's the final section. You're going to do one last review, top to bottom of your application. Definitely double check your work. Sometimes it's good to save your progress, walk away from it, sleep on it a night or two, then come back, review it again with fresh eyes. And then when you're ready, you press submit, and that's it. And guys, I wanted to wish you the best of luck during this application season. I hope this video helps you at least with the UC side of things. And my final word of encouragement is you've worked so hard to create an applicant profile, from your activities to your PIQs to your grades and your classes, that I want you to remember that the true prize of this college application process is not just the colleges that you get into, but also the validation of the work itself and enjoying this process of learning about your options, learning about yourself, doing that hard thing of self-reflection like we discussed in the PIQs. And that's just as valuable as the outcome of these college applications, whether it's a yes or a no. The way it goes, yes or no, does not change how you're going to proceed into the future, correct? You're going to continue to work hard, be yourself, and figure it out just like you've always had. So if you have any questions about the UC application or you want my help in general, let me know or leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.